Okay. I think I'm all set up. Maybe. If anybody's watching, get a yay or nay on the audio. Probably would help if I actually talked into the microphone like a, you know, smart person. I'm going to be looking at NVim tonight. Or, I guess Vim, I guess. Well, NVim, but whatever. That's the plan. Just give it a few minutes and then I will get started. Probably will stream for about an hour. Alright, well, you know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. Let's, So I think the first thing I'm going to do is mess around with startify. Because I've not done any customization of startify at all. But I'm going to do some of that tonight, and then I will go through and take a look. Well, of course, the browser didn't work. For whatever reason, Xmonad does not like to capture windows that aren't active. Does anybody know why that is? That is so weird. Like, if this is not active, like right now I have Qt Browser active, and I switch away from it, it stays there. But I switch away from that scene, switch away to a different tag or what workspace, and then go back to there. Well, I guess it's there. It's really weird. I guess it doesn't matter. But anyways, after I've done messing around with Startify, I'm going to go through and just browse some Vim plugins. That's the plan. It's going to be a very disorganized stream as per usual. I have no real goal for the end game. I'm interested in finding an autocomplete or an auto-suggest plugin for Vim, but I don't think I want to use COC. I don't really need all of COC's functionality. So there's that. But that's really my only quote-unquote sort of goal. But anyways, we'll go back here. And then, actually what I think we'll do here is just do this. And then it won't open up another window of Firefox. Okay. Where the hell did it go? That's really weird. I do not like... I do not like Xmonad at all. Things just don't work the way I expect them to work. Okay. Somewhere there's like, there they are. Like I opened up extra instances of Firefox, and instead of opening up on the active workspace, they opened up on the first workspace. But there's no rule that says Firefox should open up on that workspace. It's really weird. Okay. Anyways, like I said, that's really dumb. And it's such something I don't understand. Okay. So honestly, I don't know all that much about Startify at all in terms of actually customizing it. So this is going to be completely winging it. I'm hoping that it has some good documentation, but so far I don't see good documentation here at all for it actually. So I'll you to how to install it, and that's literally it. Okay. See if there's anywhere else that I can get some help. How to use Startify in Vim. See if this has. Nope. Sometimes Vim Awesome does, but sometimes it doesn't. I don't really want to watch a video. Switching sessions. I also want to see how tags worked in Vim, because I was using Lunar Vim. I was using this for a while, and it's good, but it has a whole bunch of functionality that I just don't need. It's very, very full of plugins and stuff that I don't need. So I stopped using it, but I really liked the way it handled tabs in Vim, and I don't know how to implement that. So that's something I'm gonna have to look into as well. I really wish that this wasn't quite so full of stuff that I didn't need, because it's actually really good, and it would take care of the transition over to Lua, because all of this for all of Chris's stuff here is written in Lua for NVim, and I don't know anything about Lua, and I don't really want to go through and transfer all that over myself. But we'll see. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. So, loading sessions. The next time you start a Vim, you will see the screen saved your saved sessions. And that's the way I have it now. Question, I would just like to know how to change this top part. We do an ls here and go into plugins. I don't know where it would store the configuration file for that actually. But we'll see if there's some help here. Okay, so here's the startify documentation, which is good. This should help a little bit. Startify basically provides two things. If you start Vim without giving any file names to it, Startify will show a pretty startup screen that shows recently used files using Vim Info and Shada and sessions by default. Additionally, you can define bookmarks, thus entries for files, and commands that always should be available on the start screen. You can either navigate to a certain menu entry and hit CR, or just hit enter, or just enter the index. You can even double click anywhere on the line. In addition, E creates an empty buffer, I creates an empty buffer and jumps into insert mode. Q quits either the buffer or, if there is no other listed buffer left, Vim itself. Okay, cool. Moreover, you can open multiple buffers at once, navigate to an entry, and either hit B in the same window, S open and split, or V open and vertical split, or T open and tab. You can do that for multiple entries. You can also mix them in order the selections will be remembered. Afterwards, execute these actions via CR. Oh, let's see here. When the selection is finished, the uppercase variants enable the batch mode, which lets you to select any entries without navigating there first. I'm not sure I quite understand that, but we'll see. This plugin eases the handling of loading and saving sessions by putting sessions in a central directory. Okay. Put these variables into your vimrc. The shown assignments are also the default values. Okay, so you're going to give me some examples, right? That's a lot of stuff. The directory to save load sessions to from. It shows my stream is buffering. If you see the stream buffering, I'm apologizing for that. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. All I see is a giant spinning wheel with, and underneath it says, excellent connection. So I'm not... So either there's an excellent connection or there's not an excellent... I will say this, though, that the back end of YouTube has been atrocious the last 3 days. It has been so bad. And uploading stuff on videos has just been crazy. I don't know whether or not it's having some issues with Firefox and it's not broken and just, you know, they're shutting the Firefox, but it's just really weird. Because just sat there and, you know, spinning around and spinning around and around in the preview. It's weird. But as long as it's okay for everybody else, I guess it doesn't really matter what it shows for me. Alright, let's see here. The header is a list of strings, whereas the string will be put on its own line in the header. Not much of that makes sense to me. It is going to get some examples here, which is good. I was messing around with, what was I messing around with earlier that had really good documentation? It was, oh, VimWiki. VimWiki has some really, really good documentation. And when it goes through and gives you these examples, it actually tells you then what the examples will do, each part of the example. It was really good because it allowed me to go through and it allowed me to go through and create 2 separate wikis, which was nice. And you know, it actually, like I said, it went through and explained everything that I needed to do, which is very helpful. So far, the startify documentation, not so much. I guess it doesn't really matter. Don't use a wizard. Don't use wizard code you don't understand, okay? I won't use wizard code. I'm moving away from Zim, is what I'm doing with VimWiki. I've been using ZimWiki for over a year. And I've just decided, you know, I'm just going to go through. I do most of my other stuff in Vim, or NVim in this case. So I just decided to go through and switch everything over from ZimWiki to VimWiki. It's not been a smooth transition, mostly because I have not figured out how to transfer, because Zim saves all of the files that it saves into .txt files. And what I want to do is take all those .txt files, and I have hundreds of them, and transfer them over into a VimWiki. But I've not been able to find out how to do that yet. Hopefully soon. Okay, well, you know what we'll just do is go to, yeah. See, this doesn't actually, this little tutorial does not give any information on how to customize it, so that's pretty much useless. And this looks like it's just the, well, this will at least be easier to read. Or maybe not. I was hoping that would actually be, go through and show me the, like the man page for it, or the help page for it. So it'd be easier to read than in a split. Oh, you want? I bet you this one's going to be actually much better. Because ChrisApp Machine does great stuff in terms of tutorials and stuff. This plugin will let us manage our sessions very easily. We should be able to specify where we want Startify to keep our sessions. Startify list. We can specify what shows up on our menu like this. Oh, cool. See, that was way easier to see. Type files, header, files. And these are bookmarks. Okay. So this first one tells you the key that you'd press to get there, and then the path. That's really cool. That's exactly what I want to do. You can automatically restart the session like this from the docs. Add a custom header. Oh, okay. Alright, that's awesome. Alright, we're going to do some of this stuff. So first, let's go up here. So if you didn't know, in Vim, if you want to go to one of these files things, you can hover over the path and hit GF, and it'll actually take you to that file, which is really cool. And it took me a long time to learn that. So if you didn't know that, that's, you know, me passing that on to you. So the first thing we want to do is do some bookmarks. So I'm going to copy this part here. Actually, I'm going to copy the whole damn thing. It's going to be easier than just typing it back in. So we will copy and paste that. Okay. And we I guess it doesn't really matter what bookmarks I use, but we could just do xmonad xmonad.hs and then delete this last part. Okay. This part here can stay, that part there can stay. And we can delete these last three. Okay. Now, if I've done this right, if I open up, I should have some bookmarks here. I do, right here. Cool. Awesome. Well, when things work. No. I don't know anything about Lua Alpha. Nothing. Well, that's not really true because I did use Awesome Window Manager for a little while. And I can change key bindings. That's about the limit of my knowledge of Lua. Now, I use that Lunar Vim that I was talking about earlier, and that's all in Lua. But I just because I was using it doesn't mean I understand any of the code. I'm going to start learning more code and stuff, but I got to start with Bash. I got to start simple because otherwise, if I jump into like Python or Lua or Haskell or, God forbid, it just wouldn't work. All right. So what we want to do is a custom header. But we're going to need some ASCII heart. Okay, so let's see. What kind of... I mean, that's kind of cool. Oh, we're going to spend... I'm going to tell you right this, I'm going to spend way too much time generating the ASCII art. This looked way too much fun. That's unreadable. What? That's really weird. That's also really weird. Those are all going to be fairly similar. I mean, that's just normal, right? That's going to be way too big. I mean, that's cool, but... yeah. I think the one that I was going to go with is just this one here. I think that's the most boring one. Okay, now let's see here. I'll just copy this beginning part here and go here, paste it, and we'll end the brackets. And then every line started with a backslash, and then every line was contained within single quotes, and then ends with a comma. See if we can remember that. Probably not. So first we'll go through and paste the thing. That's interesting. See if it was the right thing. Yep, there we go. All right, so every line starts with a backslash. Every line starts with a single quote. This is going to be out of alignment. Something's different about that one. Oh, but it's because... And the end of the line, I would have to do another of these. That's gonna have missing things somewhere, because there's a extra little apostrophe in this thing here. There's still white there that's not commented out. That's interesting. We're gonna see what it looks like. Why not? It didn't work out well at all. That's because there's extra like quotes or something. Yeah, we're gonna try a different ASCII, I bet you. I don't think. Okay, now we'll go back to here and find us a different one that doesn't have those symbols. The same, it can't use backslashes or apostrophes in it because Vim will read those as um, uh, like comments or whatever. So we'll try something different. Those are all straight lines. But that's way too big. Well, there's way more than I thought that there was. Yeah, I don't know if that would work. I could give it a try, changing the single quotes, but we'll just find one that doesn't use those. That's kind of awesome. It's not legible, but it's kind of cool. Um, flower power? No. That's way too big. That's also weird. All these are kind of weird. That's really big. That might work. This is not going to paste well. No. I'm just going to delete those. I know that there's a way in Vim to do what I wanted to do, but you know, for all intents and purposes, I'm a complete Vim noob, and mostly a poser when it comes to Vim stuff. That didn't copy worth a damn. I guess that would kind of work. So is the all started with this. Okay. And then single quotes. Oh, you want to know what? And unlike mine, you're right. I did forget the commas at the end. I just fucking remembered. Comma. Comma. Single quote. Comma. Oops, that's just more single quotes at the comma. Comma. comma, comma, and comma. We'll see if that works. Wait, make sure I still have the. Here's the. Why are you? What are you doing way down there, bracket? You're lonely. All right. Try that. Now, even with the commas, it didn't work. So let's see. Missing comma and list. So I've still missed a comma somewhere. Where was I missing a comma? It's gonna be these stupid little quotation marks. And this like slash here. Bet you that's gonna work though. It's not quite as nice, but it should work. Still no. So I'm missing a comma in line 27. Missing end of list. Bracket. So there's a bracket in there somewhere that's calling it the end of the line. Okay. So there's a bracket in there somewhere. So we have open brackets right here. We have closed brackets right here. It's really weird. And also, this is the dumbest thing to spend time on. I mean, we can get right out of the way that startify is, by pure definition, complete bloat. Because you don't need it. But it looks cool if you can get it to work. Which I, apparently can't. Because I'm missing something here. Let's go back to here and look at Chris's. Okay, so there has to be a slash before that last bracket. I bet you there should be no space as well. So let's go ahead and go back here and delete the slash space and put a backslash there. Okay. Now. Yeah, and there we go. Huh? Cool. I mean, it's, yeah. Took longer than it should have, but it's definitely there. What else can we do from here? Let's start if I take care of buffers. You can automatically restart a session like this. Those are the bookmarks. And we can specify what shows up in our menus like this. I don't think I need to change that. I think it's fine. Because this just is going to show. By default, this just shows everything. And that's fine. So, I don't think I need to change that. I might want to change the header or whatever. But it's fine. Yeah, that's good. Plenty good enough. It definitely does add some bulk or whatever to your general settings file. Let's get rid of some spaces here. That should be okay. We can get rid of this one here. Okay, good. Now, let's see here. Now, what we can do next is change this to here. Yeah, okay, that works. All right. So, what I'm going to look for, so I use surround. I don't use nerd tree. I use this is just gonna be easier just to use this instead of using that. I use Ranger. for my file browser in Vim. And I just prefer Ranger. There is a way to make Ranger like float like over top of the content, but I'm not actually sure if it still does that or not, because it used to with these settings, but it doesn't do it anymore. So, I don't know. So that's Ranger, so we don't need Nerd Tree. That's usually, and I use Vim Airline even though I don't know why. The nerd commenter. This plugin is for intensely nerdy commenting powers. That's a useless description. Persistent color scheme for the Vim text editor. I don't need that. Tag bar. This Vim plugin that displays tags in a window ordered by scope. Airline themes. You complete me. Code completion engine for Vim. No. Let's see here. What's the difference between this and like COC, I wonder? Rampus, I have used Nerd Tree in the past, yeah. I just prefer Ranger because Ranger's what I use all the time, so I use Ranger all like this. So I'm just used to using Ranger. So that's why I use Ranger. So let's see, our minimum requirements have changed. Our policy is to support Vim version that is latest LTS of Ubuntu. That currently includes 20.4. Note, minimum compiler versions have also been increased. Let's jump into the intro here. You complete me as a fast as you type fuzzy search code completion comprehension and refactoring engine for Vim. Is several completion engines built in and supports any protocol compliant language server. So you can work with practically any Ranger. You complete me contains an identifier based engine that works with every programming language. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I can try to zoom in a little bit. Because there's this thing that everybody else uses, Conquer of Completion. The thing is that it's very heavy and it's more than I really need. But I don't know is if this you complete me thing is any lighter. The user just types and the suggestions pop up by themselves, which is what I want. If the user doesn't find a completion suggestions relevant and or just wants to type, they can just do so, and the completion engine will not interfere. A critical thing to notice is that the completion filtering is not based on the input being a string prefix of the completion. The input needs to be a subsequence match of a completion for any programming language because of the identifier-based completion engine. I know Vim has a built-in like completion thing. See how this works. Auto completion in Vim. I'm having trouble with auto completion. How do I get code suggestion while I'm typing? You can use a plugin like AutoComp. Okay, so yeah, this person just tells you to use a plugin. Use Control N to get a list of the word suggestions while in insert mode. Really? So if I go in here and go into insert mode and type in NN and then press, what did it say, Control N? Oh, that's actually cool. I didn't know that. That is kind of sweet. It's not really what I'm looking for. But it's cool. Excuse me. Control N to list. Yeah, that's really cool. Or Control P. I wonder what's the difference is. All right, let's just go ahead and jump up here. Let's install it and see what works. Installation. Okay, minimum requirement Vim version 8.1. Compiled in Python 3.6 support. Should be okay. Let's find out. .9. That should work fine. Okay. What if I'm not on Mac OS, bro? Where's the... One thing I don't like about Qt Browser is that the scrolling functionality is... You gotta scroll forever to get down here. I know, you just use the bar over here. Install CMake Vim and Python. Already done. Install Mono Complete Go Node Java and NPM. And install compile YCM. Oh, let's see here. I guess I can give that a try. Worst you could do is end up having to start over again. I've had to do that before. Let's go back to... See if there's other ones. You never know, you might be able to find something different. We'll open this up in a new tab. That was not what I wanted to do. And it actually deleted the wrong tab, so I'm gonna have to open up again. That's awesome. I don't like Qt Browser at all. Or more, I don't know how to use Qt Browser at all, so I don't use it often enough. Here we go. That's what we're at. Okay. So what else we got here? Vim Go development plugin for Vim. I'm not going to be learning Go. Repeat.vim. Enable repeating supported plugin maps. Vim snippets. Commentary.vim. AL. Check syntax in Vim asynchronously and fix files with language server LSP support. Okay, I can see how that would be useful. Tabular. Vim script for text filtering and alignment. Super tab. Perform all your Vim insert mode compilers with tab. FCF. Fuzzy Finder. Grubbox, which is just a theme. Easy motions. Vim motions on speed. Wonder if what we searched for was oops. Best Vim plugins. Let's see if somebody's got a list. Control-Shift-T will open up a closed tab. I didn't know that. Well, that's good to know. I should use Qt Browser more often than I would know, but this is just stock Qt Browser, so I've made no customizations to it. And the only reason I even use it is because the browser scene for OBS, which is now all messed up because I resized the window, keeps grabbing the wrong browser if I don't use a different browser. So if I have multiple instances of Firefox open, every once in a while OBS will just grab the wrong instance of Firefox. So I just decided to use a different browser, and then just have one instance of that browser. So that actually worked better. But like I said, I don't use Qt Browser enough to actually know how to use it that much. So popular Vim plugins. I don't actually need to read your 300 words. So Nerd Tree. Most of these match it. This Vim plugin allows us to make matches between characters, strings, words, and even regular expressions. I think because if I switch to this browser, so the audio probably does change if I switch to the browser scene. I may have when I switch different workspaces. So like it's different now. All right, so I probably should keep talking, but so if I change to a different, it may just be that scene, because it's possible that that scene has a different audio setting. It does. That's the reason why, because I hardly ever use that scene. So that's probably the reason why that changes. Hopefully it's not workspaces and it's just the scene. So I'm going to stay away from that scene. You guys tell me if the audio still messes up when I go back and forth between workspaces. So I'm going to different workspaces here. It's the scene. Okay, good. I will after the stream is done, I'll go through and mess around with that because I don't use that scene very often, as you can tell by the really outdated graphic. So I'm not actually sure what the audio mixer settings are for that. I probably have a different audio or sources version of that in that scene that I used from before, and that was before I went through and added any like filters or any of that stuff to that. So that's probably the reason why it's worse. Because I go through and use now different filters and stuff and add compression and stuff as I go. That's the only way I could find to make this microphone loud enough. Otherwise, I had to turn the gain on my my focus thing, the XLR thing. Had to turn it way up. So that's probably why it changed. I've completely forgotten what I was doing. I think I was here. So match it. Tag list. While programming in a file of any critical size, losing track of where you are. So that's gonna be mostly for programming. Vim Rainbow. It gives each pair of brackets a different shade of color. I could see why that'd be useful. But I already have Vim Surround, and Vim Surround highlights them. So that's good. Nerd Commenter. Nerd Commenter is one of the most useful Vim plugins, and what it basically does is it comment on a particular area of code. If you select a code, who wrote this? If you select a code and press leader CC, your code will be commented on. For uncommenting leader C, and that could be useful. Git Gutter. I know a lot of people use Git Gutter. I don't think I really need it though. Lightline is one of those bottom line things. that is mostly useless, even though I use it. Auto pairs. Auto pairs is one of the common Vim plugins used by users. This specific one is used to insert and delete pairs of characters, such as bracket parentheses. That's basically Vim surround. I think that this is going to be a pretty damn old list. I wonder when this was written. It doesn't have a date on it. But I bet you... Oh, no, that's today's date, so it's not today. ACK is one of the popular... Yeah, you said that. You gotta start the whole thing the same way. Basically, ACK is a search tool for programmers. Why wouldn't you just use FCF? That's weird. Vim Fugitive. And you notice how he starts every single paragraph. Vim Fugitive is one of the best. You're trying way too much. This must be his SEO key phrase. One of the best Vim plugins is his SEO key phrase or keyword, and he starts every single paragraph exactly the same. And it worked because I searched for top Vim plugins and it got here. This is the page that works. So thank you, Google, for being completely transparent in how to game the system. Actually, I think it ended up being DuckDuckGo. It's a very useful plugin for us as it is the best Git wrapper of all time, which lets us carry out Git commands directly from Vim, and also integrates with Vim's interface. Everything in Vim is reversible in Vim buffer using Vim Fugitive. Okay. FCF. I wonder why he has ACK and FCF on the list. I'm assuming that there's some differences there that I just don't know about, but I've never used ACK. I've used FCF many times. AL, we just talked about AL here a few minutes ago. We saw that on Vim Awesome. Vim Surround, again, that's reusing one of the ones he had up here. It basically does the same thing. I use Vim Surround. It's really good. Can also be kind of annoying when you don't want two instances of the same thing popping up, but Vim multiple curses, that's going to be the same thing as like Sublime Text does. I think it's Sublime Text, or maybe it's VS Code does it. One of those two, I can't remember. Not anything that I really need. Solarize is not a plugin, that's a theme. Final thoughts. Okay, we can go back. 21 best Vim plugins. Okay, let's... Vim literally means Vi improved. Okay. Like I knew that. So Vim Fugitive is there. These are going to be mostly the same list. Vim Surround, Nerd Tree. Oh, here's a new one. Syntactic. The automatic syntax checking plugin was created by Marty Grenfell. That doesn't features. It runs files via external syntax checkers and shows any resulting errors to the users. It's exclusively for Vim version 7. Vim Git Gutter. That's going to be the same one. Vim Airline. Why do they think that Airline needs to be on the top plugins list ever? I mean, look, the Airline plugins and the Lightline or whatever, those are really cool. They're neat. Like I use them. Like I have that Airline thing down here at the bottom. And it's great. It's fine. It looks nice, but it's not like... It's very much like the thing we spent time on earlier. This is a complete waste of space. And as long as you're honest about that, that's fine. But it's not as if, oh my goodness, Startify is going to, change the way you use Vim. No. This is, it's completely superfluous. But whatever, it doesn't matter. but it's on every single list that we've seen so far. The nerd commenter, these are all exactly the same. Vim color solarize, again, that's not a plugin, that's a theme. Tag bar, we saw that one on the other list as well. Here's You Complete Me. That's the one I was looking at earlier and was thinking about update or installing. This plugin is known as Vim Code Completion Engine. It supports programming language, so this is could have used a little bit more information. Okay. Random medium blog on the internet. So, FCF. These are all gonna be exactly the same. If you're gonna create a blog and then make a list, at least find some cool plugins that aren't, exactly the same. Yeah, I know, but I know technically there are plugins, the themes that are plugins, but they're not useful plugins. I'm looking for themes that are, or plugins that are actually do things other than just make. I've done my ricing. I don't need to keep doing ricing. Lightline again. Vim multiple cursors. Oh, here's a different one. Unix. This cryptically named plugin adds a dozen core Unix file operations as Vim commands in the context of the current file. These small helpers add up fast to not breaking your Vim workflow. All commands are documented in the project README. I understand the words are English, but I don't. It's a dozen cores Unix file operating system. So that's gonna be like move and copy and stuff. Chmod. Why would you need that when you can just go into a terminal? Because in Vim you can just open up a shell at the bottom and do stuff. Weird. Surround, that's going to be basically Vim surround, probably the same thing. And nerd tree. Editor config. Editor config is a multi-editor tool for defining base file handling and code style preferences in a project, aligning these between editors. With this plugin, rule sets defined as local editor config files will automatically configure Vim settings such as indentation size and apply formatting such as removing tailing white space on save. That could be useful. Emmet. Emmet is a powerful completion tool for HTML and CSS and JavaScript, which allows you to make dynamic completions from a shorthand expression. Okay, that's really cool. But it seems like it'd be covered probably by a different plugin as well. And we saw Ale before. Okay. Well, my idea of going through and looking for best plugin lists has mostly been a complete failure because they've all shown the same 10 plugins basically. Oh, here, wait a minute, not. I haven't seen Volt before. My number one plugin it replaces Vundle. Okay. I'm using Vim Plug, Rampus. I used to use Vundle, but I use Vim Plug now. I don't know why I switched. I think it was something to do with I was trying somebody else's profile or config files, and they used Vim Plug, so that just kind of got stuck in there. Let's see, Vim Rainbow. So it just changes the color of the brackets. Lightline again. I mean, this is number 3. Number 3 on the list is Lightline. Nerd Tree. Nerd Commenter. These are all exactly the same. Again, Solarized. Once again, it's a theme. I know it goes in by plugin. That's how it's implemented. But when you make a list of the top plugins that are the most useful, and you say that a theme is the most useful. I mean, I suppose Solarize at least has some functionality because it supposedly changes, saves your eyes, whatever, but I don't know. It's a weird thing to get upset about. FZF and ACK. So again, those are, you want to search for a file that contains a certain line or a certain word. Oh, I'm not actually looking for any to solve any problems. I'm just browsing plugins. That's all I'm doing. I don't know if I'll install any new ones tonight. Maybe the only one that I've seen that it was this one here. That was the only thing that I said I was thinking about installing was a completion engine. And even then, I'm not sold on it because I don't really need it. And I know that if you're just learning to code something and you have a completion engine, that can kind of act as a crutch. So I don't know if I really want to install it or not. So, like I said, I'm just browsing to see what's out there. It's been a long time since I've looked at any Vim plugins, so that's what I thought I'd do. I needed an idea for a stream, and this was just what popped into my head. Basically, that's how that worked. What does auto pairs do, Rampus? Is that similar to Vim Surround? Git Gutter? Again, these are all... I'm really disappointed in the blogging community where they just seem to copy each other. Like that. At least this one looks like it was voted on yet, right? So this list at least looks like it's like a compilation of popular things, but tag bar, nerd commenter, these are all exactly Vim dev icons. Adds file type icons to Vim plugins such as Nerd Tree, Vim Airline. That's cool, but it's not necessarily useful. Yeah, that's the same thing as Vim Surround. So if I'm in like let's just open up a empty buffer here, and I type in, I don't know, brackets. As you can see, I get 2 brackets. That's Vim Surround. So it's basically the same thing. And it does the same thing with other brackets here like that. And I think it would do the same thing with parentheses. Yeah. And if you highlight over the first one, it will highlight the other one. That way you make sure you have pairs. Vim Guten tags, a Vim plugin that manages your tag files. So these are at least something new. Vim Ruby, Vim Prettier, a Vim plugin for Prettier. Omni Sharp is a Vim Omni completion and more for C Sharp. Okay. Vim text object user. Create your own text objects. Vim completes me, which is going to be you complete me, I think. Probably the same thing. You don't complete me, Vim completes me. A super simple, super minimal, super lightweight tab completion plugin for Vim. So that's open up on a new tab, bro. Could you actually take me to like whatever this is? Alternatives. Like I don't care about alternatives. Take me to the website. That's really weird. This website's dumb. Context.vim Vim plugin that shows the context of the currently visible buffer and the context. That's gonna be like the location of it, right? Vim Waka Time. Vim plugin for automatic time tracking and metrics generating. At a certain point, Vim just shouldn't be extended beyond what it is. It doesn't need to be a time tracking and metrics generated. I mean, we have clocks, okay? I mean, I suppose if you, the problem is as long as you have Vim open, it would still be tracking your time. So you and I have Vim open, several instances of Vim open right this second. It could be tracking my time, It's really weird. Win Resizer, very simple Vim plugin for easy resizing of Vim windows. Why would you need that? Because if you have a split, like this, there are key bindings, even if I don't know what they are, to make those bigger and smaller. And the only reason I don't know what they are is because I don't use splits. Yeah, that's really weird. Vim, and if you're using like something like Tmux or something like that, you have completely different, key bindings and stuff for that. So if I can actually show you if you guys are interested what the if I show you the plugins that I have right now. So these are the plugins that I have right now. I have Vim. Why do I have auto pairs and Vim surround here? I don't I don't know. Apparently I do though. So, and I also have Vim close tag, Vim airline, Ranger Explorer, which is for Ranger, Vim last place. So probably my favorite one is Vim last place, because it's actually the most useful out of probably all of these, is that it will save your position within a buffer if you close it. So if you go back to, say, your Xmonad config or whatever, and you were editing and you close it after saving, it will actually remember where you were. That's the best part. That's the best one. And Vim Wiki and Vim Material, this is actually going to be a theme. So yeah, those are the plugins that I use. And like I said, other than an autocomplete one that I'm still waffling back and forth on, I don't really know that I need any. But like I said, I just decided I was going to go browsing. I'm window shopping, people, for Vim plugins. That's what I'm doing. And mostly failing because all the lists are exactly the same. Which plugin displays the editing mode you're in on the command bar? That's going to be airline. That's a function of Vim airline. And then the airline themes is just kind of like an associative plugin that gives you themes. Why those things aren't combined? I mean, why you'd want... Because, I mean, I don't know anybody who would use Vim airline and then not have the themes installed. So I feel like they should be combined, but it's really weird. But they're not. I can't believe that I've been streaming for an hour already and done absolutely nothing. Alright, you wanna... Mostly I'm done with this. So let's go ahead and do this. So how's everybody in the chat doing tonight? We'll do a little bit of a question and answer sessions. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat. My window shopping of Vim plugins was mostly a failure because, like I said, most of those lists that I was looking at, all exactly the same. And Vim Awesome, which has lists of like all the plugins, which is cool, it's just kind of hard to read. I don't know, and they're all kind of sorted in. Unless you're searching for something specific, it's hard to find. If you just want to go through and browse stuff, it's stuff that happened, very much a recurring thing. I was using that Lunar Vim that I was talking about earlier, and that just has like, I don't know, hundreds of plugins installed. And because Chris at Machine is he's a coder, so he actually has to have all this stuff. And I was using it for a little while. It's just all this stuff that I don't need. Have I modified my window manager shortcut scripts? No, I'm just using Learn Linux is the one that he did for his channel. I'm not actually in DWM right now, so I don't have the key binding to show you. But that's the one I'm using. I'm going to create one for Xmonad eventually, because DT's config doesn't actually have it in there. So now if you're using stock Xmonad, just the default configuration file, there's actually a script built into it for a cheat sheet, but it's not in DTs as far as I know. And those are the ones that basically I'm using. Now I've done a lot of customization of them. I've taken a lot of stuff out. All the Emacs stuff is gone. I can actually show you if you guys are interested in seeing what my Xmonad thing looks like now. This is the Xmonad that I'm using right now. All the imports are the same because I do not want to mess with the imports and stuff because I have no idea what I'm doing. Like none whatsoever. And I don't want to, mess that up. I've even kept the fonts so far the same. But other than that, I've removed some stuff. I've changed some stuff around. I've obviously done some ricing. But even then, most of my ricing was in Xmobar. And added a wallpaper. I haven't gone through and actually changed the border or anything. It doesn't really matter to me, the border. But the other thing I did was DT has a whole bunch of like auto start stuff. He does all the auto starts for his right here in xmonad.hs. I prefer an auto start script. It's just easier for me because it allows me to go through and do like specialized if statements, like if MPD is running, don't do this or kill it or whatever. Because especially like with MPD, if you use MPD, if you try to open up a second instance of MPD, everything kind of craps out on you. So it's good to kill it first. Same thing with like PyCom. PyCom will actually give you an error if you try to start it up a second instance of it. So that can mess around with things if you don't kill it first. So the rest of the stuff is mostly the same. Now I've gone through and yeah, i3's great. This my apps grid here, that's still DT stuff. I haven't deleted it because I don't know if I delete it if it will break. But that's that really weird grid menu he has in his. And like I said, I don't know if I delete it if it will break. And I don't really feel like doing that now. But the scratch pads here ones are great because I've gone through and actually added one or two of those, and that's actually worked really well. So I'm glad that I've gone through and been able to learn how to do that. The rest of this stuff are layouts and colors for tabs, so like you can have so if like i3 has tabs, so does Xmonad, which is really cool. I don't use it though because I've just fallen out of the habit of using tabs. These are workspace names, and then float rules for floating windows, and then key bindings. I've gone through, and one of the things I really do like about Xmonad is the really easy way it does key chords. So like it's really not easy. Like I don't think you can do key chords in i3 at all without using something like SXHKD. You can't do key chords in DWM without using SXHKD. Same thing with BSPWM. Now, Qtile has key chords built into the configuration file, and I think Awesome does too. But so I really like the way Xmonad does key chords. So for example, I have key chords for all of my scratch pads. So if I do Control M and then N, I get NCMP, CPP, or whatever the hell it's called. And if I close that and do Control MM, I get Neomut. And if I do, let's see, and then T is just a terminal. And then I think I had another one there as well. I'm not actually sure, but there's the same thing with a whole bunch of other ones. So like my search thing. So if I do mod pb, I get all my bookmarks. So I like the keycords quite a lot. But other than that, I haven't made a lot of changes. I'm going to do a video comparing DWM and Xmonad probably later this week because I've now spent like 5 or 6 days in Xmonad completely, like 100%. And I have thoughts. Like, it's good, but it's not that good. Like, I have confidence. So my biggest thing with comparing these two is that I have confidence in DWM that if I wanted to add a feature to DWM, I could go in and change it. If I wanted to change or add a feature here in Xmonad, I don't have that confidence that I wouldn't go through and just mess it up. And the problem is when I mess something up, and like if I mess something up in DWM, I can go through and pretty much troubleshoot myself. I can go in and see what I've done wrong and kind of understand it. Now, I'm not going to say I'm, like this huge expert when it comes to C. I'm not, like, at all. But if something went wrong, I feel like I have the confidence enough to go in and try to figure out what's wrong. With Xmonad, I don't have that. If something messed up, unless it's something like a typo or something, I have no confidence that I could go through and fix it. So that's the biggest comparison I have between those is I just don't have the confidence of Xmonad yet. I don't know if that would change. Now I'm more confident than I was before in terms of actually going through and making changes and stuff. And I feel like I understand it a bit more, but I'm still very wary of it because if I make changes to it, I'm very worried that I'm just going to break it completely. So that's my Xmonad story so far. Whether the question becomes, do I continue to use it? The keycords thing is really good. And when I switched back to DWM, I was troubleshooting Learn Linux's CS.DWM cheat sheet. And I wanted to, because I was having problems with it, and I wanted to go into DWM and see if the reason why I was having problems with it had something to do with Xmonad. And I went into DWM and I missed the keycords. But I don't think that's going to be a big problem because if I decide I want those and want to go back to DWM, SXHKD can do keycords. So I could go through and rejigger my SXHKD file to go through and have some keycords in it, and that would probably make me happy. Yeah, Xmonad does not do short configuration files at all, analytic minded. It's like, I mean, it's 466 lines, so it's not the longest configuration file you've ever seen. Now, if you used Arco Linux, you'll know that their configuration files are really long. So, I think i3's is well over 500 lines for Arco Linux when it starts. But most of those are comments because they go through and comment all this stuff. And the Polybar one is just insanely long because they have bars for every single one of their window managers, and you have to take all that stuff out. It'd be great if they just used different files for each one, but I can see why they all want them all to be in the same file. What else? I don't know what I'm going to be streaming next week. I had a harder in time than ever this week coming up with this topic, and this was an atrocious topic. It was boring. I couldn't come up with a topic to stream. What I'm thinking actually is like maybe a game night or something. Like I could do some I could go through and do like Tux Card or something. I don't know. Just play some games. Maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, so I don't know if I can show you this. Let me actually first before I do this, let me because I might. I gotta find it. I want to show you my i3 config because it's very impressive. Peter, I believe it will. So let me show you this right here. So if I go, I'm forgetting the key binding. I think it's Vim space. Yeah, it does hide the top bar. So as you can see here, I don't know if you can see that or not. But it does hide the top bar, and it doesn't. It actually is gone. Like you can't see it. So that's mod space. I'm not sure. I'd probably use that for like a virtual machine or something. Do I have my i3 stuff here? I was kind of hoping I did, but I don't see it. I have to wait for my. I'm subscribed to the Primogen or whatever his name is. He's very enthusiastic about them. That's for sure. There's somebody else that does really good Vim stuff too. I know Chris at Machine does, but his stuff is like way over my head. Let's see here. Apparently I know I have an i3 one here in this one. I don't see it. Damn. You know what, fine, we'll just do it the other way around. Because I have it on GitHub. I don't have i3 installed right now. That's the reason why I don't have it in my config file. Let's see here. My repositories. Let's see. i3 stuff is right here. i3 config. All right, so the reason why this is impressive is that it's 100 lines. Yeah. I have virtually no key bindings in here at all because all of my key bindings are in SXHKD. And honestly, I could get rid of this mode right here too as well, and that could get rid of another like 10 lines. Because I could go through and move all these scripts over into like a Rofi script or something. That'd be really easy. The only key bindings I have are these ones right here. And if you take these out of the i3 configuration file, i3 breaks. It's really weird. So obviously, like the floating modifier or whatever needs to stay. But for whatever reason, the workplace next and the workplace previous has to stay. Otherwise, like I said, i3 breaks. I tried to get rid of all of them, but like I said, it just doesn't work. The rest of the stuff is like the colors and then a few rules, and then the rules for the workspaces. And honestly, if I didn't have 2 monitors, I could get rid of all this stuff too. So yeah, 100 lines. And that's my other stuff. See, like my SXHKD RC file for i3 is 172 lines. So my key bindings is actually longer than the config file itself. So that took me a while to do. Because I knew going in that there were a couple key bindings in i3 that you couldn't take out. And it ended up being just those 2. But I had to go through and do them one at a time. So obviously I knew I could go through and do the Firefox and the application-specific ones. Those were always going to be fine. But the i3 stuff that down here at the bottom, so all the i3 stuff here, like moving the windows and stuff like that, I had to do those all one at a time to make sure that i3 config file didn't break. I will leave a link to my GitHub here at the bottom if anybody wants to try this i3 config, because it's really good. I really like it. I don't think I have a picture of it. I don't. But it is riced. So, yeah, SXHKD is something that I use in every single window manager except for Xmonad. Because I'm very worried about breaking Xmonad. I just don't want to break it. So I haven't introduced anything that I could think that might break it. So, yeah. But then I use SXHKD, which desperately needs a better name. In all the other window managers, I use it in DWM, even though I don't have nearly as many key bindings in my SXHKDRC file for DWM as I do with like i3, because there's no way in DWM to do DWM specific key bindings outside of the configuration file. So moving windows back and forth between tags and stuff like that has to be done from the config.h file. It can't be done from SXHKD. Now with i3 and BSPWM, both of those can have pretty much all of their configuration files, especially BSPWM, but all their stuff that's specific to that window manager can be done from SXHKD. It doesn't have to be done from their configuration file. I'm not sure about Awesome. I'm pretty sure all of Awesome's default stuff has to be done from the Awesome configuration file too. I haven't used Awesome nearly enough. And I'm assuming the same is true for Xmonad. Alright guys, I've been streaming for an hour and a half now. I'm ready to stop. So I will try to do a better topic next week. Like I said, it'll probably be some random game or something, because I'm running out of stuff to stream about, honestly. I have video topics, but I don't want to use those video topics for a stream. So I've been having to come up with other things for streams, and for the most part I've just been doing ricing. And ricing is good, but you don't want to do ricing every single week, because that would be boring. So I don't know. I'll come up with a solution. Maybe I'll start doing streams every other week or something, or maybe just change the times or do some gaming. Like I said, I'll think about it. Thanks everybody for watching. I should take a moment to thank our current patrons, Devon, Marcus, Meglin, Donnie, Sven, Merrick, Camp, and Mitchell. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you next week or tomorrow on a video.